Dear senior students of the Unified Tracks, welcome to this revision session of the course Eng301. This is Mr. Samir Abdulhamid and this is الهداية الخليفية Secondary School. Let's start by looking at some tips on how to take the exam, how to take a test properly. Take a deep breath and relax. It is very important to relax before you start answering your questions because stress will make you lose focus and you are not going to do well. Read all of the directions carefully. I mean by the directions, if you have to answer this question or that, you have to choose from these two options and so on. Read the questions carefully. Then you need to read the questions carefully. Read the rubric for the question. Is it to choose the right answer or to choose the wrong answer? Sometimes you have questions like this. Make sure you understand what is being asked. It is the same thing as I said before. You need to decide, is it what you want to do exactly or you misunderstood the question? Look at all of the choices before you answer. Do not decide on the right answer from reading the first option only. So if you have A, B, C, and D, for example, don't decide from reading A only. No, please go through all the options. There might be some similar options, but one of them is the right answer. Eliminate the answers you know are wrong. If you are not sure about your answer, then start eliminating the answer that you are sure they are wrong. Then you will have one or two answers left to choose from. Check your work for accuracy. Don't just finish writing, finish doing your exam and submitting your answer. No, please revise, proofread, read again, check your spelling, check your grammar before you submit your answer. And always do your best. You're gonna do it, guys. Let's have a look at the exam or the test format. How many questions are we going to have? What are the marks allocated for each question? We are going to have listening 1, and this will take 10 marks. Listening 2, another 10 marks. And then reading 1, 20 marks. Reading 2, another 20 marks. Writing 1, this is where you are going to choose one obligatory writing task. And writing 2, here you are going to have A and B, 2 options to choose from. These make 100 altogether. Then we teachers turn them into 60 marks. So if you get 100 out of 100, it means that you got 60 out of 60. If you get less, you are going to get less in the 60 marks. Next, I'm going to give you some tips on the exam itself. I'll start by the listening, which is the first question in your exam. Gentlemen, please read ahead. In every listening question, you have this sentence all the time. You have 1 minute to read question 1. You have 1 minute to read question 2. Please make use of that 1 minute. Reading ahead will help you decide what you want to do exactly in the listening. This will help you guess the answers. You can say that the missing part here is a name or is a place, is a number, etc. Write the word you hear, do not rephrase. Just consider your listening exam as a dictation exam that you used to have at primary school. What you hear is what you write. Do not write another word. So if the answer is the word child, please do not write the word kid, for example, which is very similar, but it is not the same. So you need to be in the safe side. Write what you hear. If you get lost, and this is very common, don't worry. Keep calm and move forward. Because you are going to have a second chance. You are going to listen again and check your answers. Here, you are going to check the answers that you have done already, and you are going to answer the questions that you have missed. Guys, a very, very common mistake done by some students. In true or false questions, use one sign only. This sign is not accepted and does not take any marks. Do not write T and then modify it into F, or F and then modify it into T. Or if you are writing a tick and a cross, do not make a tick and then add that line to make it a cross, or write a cross and add this to make it a tick. This way you are losing the mark. So if you want to change your mind, please just cross this out completely and write a clear answer, a clear F or a clear T, a clear tick or a clear cross. In multiple choice, circle one option only. Do not put any other let me say signs on the other options. If you have A, B, C and D, for example, please, if you choose A, then it is only A that you are going to circle or underline, but do not put any other sign on the other options. Okay, if you changed your mind, it's okay. Please cross out the answers that you think are wrong and let only one option clear in the final place. So this is your final answer. So imagine that you've decided it is A. So you circled A. Then you changed your mind and you said, no, it is C. And you circled C. Okay, no, it is neither A nor C. My final answer is B. Please cross out A and C and leave B only, so that the examiner will know that, okay, you were not sure about your answer, but finally you decided that the right answer is B. If you leave more than one sign, you do not take any mark for it. When it comes to numbers, please, I know you're grown-ups and you're very good in English. However, some students are still making that confusion between 15 and 50, 17 and 70, 19 and 90. Gentlemen, whenever you have the sound teen, it means that there is a 1 in the number. And whenever you have the sound T, like 50, it means that there is a 0 in the answer. Well, let's move to the reading part and we'll repeat almost the same tips. Read the questions first. When you are having a reading question, you will have a page full of information, that is the reading passage, and you will have the questions. In case you read the passage and then read the questions, I'm sure you are not going to answer directly. You will go back to the reading passage to make sure that your answer is correct. So please don't waste your time. Go to the questions first, read them, and then go back to the text to find an answer for each question. If you find the answer for question 1, it's okay. Move to question 2 and so on. And if you have a question that is difficult, keep calm, don't worry, don't feel stressed, and move forward. Then go back to that hard or difficult question. The same thing as true or false questions, the same thing I said in the listening, please use one sign only. And the same thing as for the multiple choice, it is the same, please choose one option only. So again, this sign is not accepted and this sign is not accepted, and many signs on the different options in MCQ, in multiple choice questions, are not accepted as well. Well, now, what are the writing topics that we have in our course? Guys, as you know, we have 6 units in our book, and we have one writing task for each unit. So let's start looking at them. In Unit 1, we had to write a formal or informal email of invitation or a reply for that. So it is either invitation or a reply for an invitation. And it could be formal and informal. In fact, it never happened that they get us an informal email because it's going to be very short. So what came all the time was the formal email, whether making an invitation or replying for an invitation. In Unit 2, it is a descriptive essay. Remember, this is a new, because Unit 2 was not in our course before. We used to skip it in previous years, but this year it is with us, and we are going to write a descriptive essay. In Unit 3, it's going to be a for and against essay. In Unit 4, it's going to be a short report. In Unit 5, we are going to write a chart or table report. And finally, in Unit 6, the easiest one, it's going to be an online film or book review. And here we go. Let's start by the first writing task. I'm going to tell you about the format of that task and give you some hints, some tips on it, and after that you are going to get a model, an example of it, and there you need to pause to look at it carefully, or you can look at the attached file which already has all the writings to read and to study carefully. Let's start. First thing you need to know is the word range. How many words you need to write in such a writing? It should be 150 to 200 words. And here we need to look at the differences between formal and informal style. So in greeting, when you are making a greeting in an email or in a letter, there are differences between greeting somebody formally and informally. Let's look at that. Formally, we use dear plus the common title Mr. or Ms plus the surname or the family name of the person. So Jones is not the name of the person. He might be called Adam Jones, for example, or Peter Jones. I don't say dear Mr. Peter or dear Mr. Peter Jones. It is only the family name that is used. Dear Mr. Jones. If it is a woman, we start by dear Ms. Jones. Okay? But informally, we can say hi Susan, hi Ali, hi Ahmed, hi John, and so on. If you are requesting something formally, you would say, could you please let me know? This is a formal way. Could you please let me know? Compare it to the informal way. Can you call me? Directly like that. You see, it is shorter and it is very common use of vocabulary. If you are complaining, how would you express that formally? You would say, we regret to inform you that. It means that you are sorry to tell him that something bad happened. But if you are doing that informally, you can say, I'm sorry, see that. We don't use contractions in formal writing. This is okay in informal writing. I am. Here it should be I am in case I'm using it. I'm sorry to say that you are late. Again, another contraction. Well, if you want to give any additional information, you can do that formally, like, should you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. You see how long it is and how formal it is. But here, any problems or queries, just let me know. You get it? So it is like this. This is the simplest way. This is the more sophisticated way. If you want to refer to further contact, you can say, I look forward to hearing from you. But informally, you can say, hope to hear from you soon. And in the ending, you should end by yours sincerely if you started with Mr. Jones, if you know the name of the person. And this is the case in our topic. In fact, we cannot do that to someone that we do not know, because usually we reply to the invitation, so we already know the name of the person, or we make the invitation so we know the person we are inviting. So it is usually yours sincerely. But if you are ending informally, it would be best wishes, love, cheers, bye. All these will be accepted. I hope now you have a clear idea about the differences between formal and informal greetings, requests, and so on. If you need to read it more, please pause here, look at it carefully, and then continue. Well, this is an example of a formal email. Imagine that you have just seen an ad to rent an apartment and you want to contact the owner to inquire about the rent. Write an email about this topic. So you want to rent an office, or sorry, a flat, and you want to contact the guy, the owner. This is how it should go. Dear sir or madam, you don't know the name of the guy. That's the greeting. My name is Noor and I am, he says, I'm a university student. I am interested in renting your flat located in Isa town. My sister and I are searching for a peaceful place to live near the campus of the University of Bahrain, of course. This is the introduction, and then the matter in details. We are quiet and studious, majoring in physics and psychology, and capable of paying rent through financial support from our parents. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Well, we would love to set up an appointment and so on. As you can see, you go through it like that according to what I already said in the previous slide. Again, if you need to read it in details, you can pause here and read it completely. Well, what about a reply? This is the email. How would the landlord or the owner reply for that? Reply. Imagine that you are the landlord. Write an email of reply answering the requests highlighted by Noor in her email. This is how it should go. Again, this is an example and it is taken from the Edionet, by the way. Dear Noor, thank you for contacting us about the 2-bedroom flat that we intend to rent. The flat is still available for rent and I am going to send you the residence location to see the flat. Moreover, we do have a set of conditions that should be considered by the tenant, the resident, the new one to live in that flat. If interested, you must have the following in place. The monthly rent for long-term tenants is 250 dinars. The tenant should pay 3 months' rent in advance. We also do not allow smoking or pets at this residence. If you are comfortable with all of the terms above, I'd be happy to answer any more questions you may have about the rental. Please call me at, and you have any number, you can make it up, it's 17999999 to discuss further. I look forward to talking to you. And then on behalf of the leasing company, that's Mr. Adel. So we had the example of the email and the example of a reply. Let's move to writing 2. A descriptive essay. The descriptive essay we have will be about an environmental issue because the theme of Unit 1 is the environment and the problems that are taking place in the environment. How can we do that? Let's check it. Before we go, you need to write between 200 to 250 words. Any essay, in fact, should be with that word range, 200 to 250 words. Well, this is the layout of such an essay. In paragraph 1, you will need to write an introduction where there is going to be a description of the issue or the problem, the environmental problem. And then in paragraph 2, you need to talk about the causes of that problem or issue. In paragraph 3, you need to suggest some solutions for that problem. And finally, in paragraph 4, you need to give a conclusion where you are going to summarize all the ideas mentioned in the essay already. Okay? Well, what about an example? Before that, let's remember some things that are very important. Remember that every essay has 3 parts, a beginning, a middle, and an end. The beginning is also called the introduction, as I said in the layout a while ago. This is to recap, to reinforce the information I already mentioned shortly, but now it is in full. The introduction has 2 main purposes: to draw the reader in and make him or her want to read more about the topic or to prepare the reader for the direction that the essay is going to take. The introduction usually has 3 parts. The hook. What is the hook? It is the dramatic opener. It should consist of several sentences that pull the reader into the essay. They need to be eye-catching. They need to be attention-grabbing. For example, you can begin with a quote, a quotation, a word that is said by a famous person about the topic, an unusual fact or a statistic. These are all to grab the attention of the reader. A thoughtful or relevant question. You can start by a question so that the reader will think about the answer and will read to find that answer and to check if his answer was the right one or not. You can give some background information or even a short personal story. All these will grab the attention of the reader. Well, the transitional sentence connects the hook to the thesis statement. What is the thesis statement? This is the topic of the essay itself. We can say, in other words, it is similar to the topic sentence in a paragraph, but this is the topic sentence of the whole essay. The thesis statement is 1 or 2 sentences that states the idea of the essay. We continue with some information about how to write an essay in general. The body of an essay. The body of an essay is the part between the introduction and the conclusion, and it contains the evidence. There can be 2 or more paragraphs. It all depends on the subject of the essay. If you have a lot to say about the subject, you will probably have many more body paragraphs. Each paragraph in the body of the essay contains the following sentences. A topic sentence, and this is the sentence that tells the reader what the paragraph is going to be about. Detail sentences. Your paragraph can have many detailed sentences. The detailed sentence tells you or tells the reader a little more about your topic. Each detail sentence must include an example. So you need to have an example for each idea you are introducing. Then a concluding or transitional sentence. This sentence wraps up what you have already told the readers and gets them ready for the next paragraph. We are getting to the end of our paragraph. Just as every essay has a clear beginning, it should have a clear ending. The last paragraph, known as the conclusion, should make your essay sound completed. The concluding paragraph typically has 2 parts. The summary statement is 1 or 2 sentences, which restate the thesis in a fresh way to reinforce the essay's main idea. The clincher or the closer is a final thought which should create a lasting impression on the reader. This is what you are going to leave in the reader's mind. Try to make it very impressive to get a good impression on the reader. Now let's look at an example, and I'll get you the example. You can pause there and read it carefully, and then you can move on. As you can see, it is about an environmental issue, and here we have the very common environmental issue, global warming. You have the introduction where there is a description, and then you have the second paragraph which has got the causes. We move on because we couldn't make it all in one slide, so we'll continue in the next slide with the solutions and conclusion. If you need to stop here, remember, just pause the video, read it carefully, and then move on. the second part of our essay will contain the solutions, and here they are, and finally the conclusion. As you can see, they are shorter. The biggest part will be the causes paragraph, and as you can see, our essay is made up of 4 paragraphs. Back again, they are the introduction followed by the causes, solutions, and finally the conclusion. Now it's time for writing 3. The writing we have in Unit 3 is a for and against essay, and as you know, this is a kind of a discursive essay. A discursive essay is that one that deals with different points of view. People are for and people are against. You have 2 opinions and you need to display them. You need to discuss both of them, and finally you need to give your own opinion, whether you are with the first opinion, the people who are for, or the people who are against. Again, this is an essay, and as I told you before, you need to write between 200 to 250 words. Let's look at how to write a for and against essay. A for and against essay is a formal piece of writing. This is number 1. Of course, the descriptive essay that we already had in Unit 2 was also a formal piece of writing. So you cannot use any informal expressions or grammatical structures in such a writing, in which a topic is considered from opposing points, as I told you, contradicting points of view. You should present both sides in a fair way. You are here objective. You will tell the reader about the 2 points of view fairly, both. You'll discuss them both by discussing them objectively and in equal detail. The structure of a for and against essay is like that. You will have the introduction. Here you are going to state the topic along with its present situation without giving writers' opinions. You are not telling your own opinion here. Your opinion comes in the conclusion, not in the introduction and not in the next paragraphs. In the body paragraph, you need to write 2 paragraphs. Here you are going to write the arguments in favor or the arguments for. You are going to write the arguments against or the arguments not in favor, and here you need to support those arguments by giving reasons, examples, facts, etc., statistics, and so on. And finally, you will come to the conclusion, where you are going to refer back to the topic and summarize. You give a summary of the topic in general. The conclusion is usually the most important part of your essay, because this is the part that the reader remembers most, because it is the last thing that he reads. So try to make it very impressive. Here you can say why you find one side more convincing than the other. Here you are going to tell your opinion. I feel that the arguments for are more convincing, or the arguments against are more convincing. So you tell your opinion. What is your decision after looking at both sides? States the writer's opinion directly or indirectly and gives a balanced view of the topic. Note, opinion words like I think, I believe, in my opinion, etc. can only be used in the closing paragraph, where you give your opinion on the topic. Again, your opinion does not appear until you come to the conclusion. You cannot say your opinion in the introduction. You cannot say your opinion in the body paragraphs. It appears only in the conclusion. Well, here we are going to look at some useful expressions and linking words or phrases to help you with your writing. if you are going to list points, you can use these words. Firstly, first of all, in the first place, to begin or to start with. Secondly, these are very important if you are talking about a list. Thirdly, if you come to the end, it's going to be finally. Last but not least, these are very important expressions, in fact, that you need to know well. If you want to introduce points or arguments for or against, you can use any of these expressions. It is widely argued that, or generally felt or believed that. You can say some or many or most people or experts or scientists support or oppose. If they are for, they support. If they are against, they oppose the view that. Okay? Critics are in favor of so and so or against so and so. So critics will refer to people who are not with that point of view. Of the opinion that or convinced that. Well, what else? To make contrasting points, if you want to compare and contrast 2 points, you can say, on the other hand, it may be said that, however, still, yet, all these make the same meaning. Others oppose this viewpoint, but nonetheless or nevertheless, many people strongly disagree. So these expressions can help you contrast the 2 contradicting viewpoints. In conclusion, you can use these. Conclusion expressing balanced consideration or opinion indirectly. You can use some of these expressions. In conclusion, it seems that, or taking everything into account, which is very good in fact. It is clear or it is obvious that. Whenever you have that slash, it means that you can choose between the expression before it or after it. To conclude or to sum up. It can or it must be said, or it must or it can be claimed, okay, that, and so on. Conclusion expressing opinion directly. So this was the start of the conclusion where you are giving a balanced opinion. Here you are going to give your own opinion directly. In conclusion or on balance, it is in my belief that, or it is in my opinion that, all things considered, I firmly believe or I feel that. Taking everything into account, I am, remember we are writing formally, you cannot say I'm. I am convinced that. Consideration, I am inclined to believe that. To conclude, I do not agree that, or I agree that. With so and so. To sum up, all in all these are very useful expressions. You can pause and even you can note down some of these to can use them when you are writing your essay. Well, here is a model answer, and again I'm going to show it to you. I'm not gonna read it, not to waste your time. You can pause, read it in depth, and if you want to try writing it down, noting it down, or even taking it from the attached file, it is your option. Well, that's our introduction, and here is the arguments against. We continue by the arguments for, and finally the conclusion. Remember, you can start by for or against depending on your own opinion. I mean, you don't have to start all the time by for and then against, or by against and then for. If, my advice, my tip is, if you are against, start by for and then put against and then your conclusion with another against stuff. so that you can convince the reader. And the other way around, if you are for, then you start by against, then for, like this, and then the conclusion, which will be reinforcing for again, so that you will be more likely to convince the reader. As I told you, you can pause and read in depth or copy. It's time for Unit 4, which has a short report. Here you are going to write around 200 words only. You don't need to reach the 250 like the essays. Before we start, I want you to remember, reports are more likely to be needed for business, scientific and technical subjects, and in the workplace. Yes, they are asked for that either in the workplace or for scientific and technical studies, whereas an essay presents arguments and reasoning. A report concentrates on facts. So an opinion will be talking about opinion and arguments and thinking, reasoning, while the report will focus on facts. That's why we have them in points. Essentially, a report is a short, sharp, concise document which is written for a particular purpose and audience. Well, let's take some tips on writing style. When writing a report, your aim should be absolutely clear. You need to make your opinion, your aim clear from the very beginning. Above all, it should be easy to read and understand, even to someone with little knowledge of the subject area. You should therefore aim for crisp, precise text using plain English and shorter words rather than longer with short sentences. You should also avoid jargon. If you have to use specialist language, you should explain each word as you use it. If you find that you've had to explain more than about 5 words, you're probably using too much jargon and need to replace some of it with simpler words. Do not use technical terms a lot. Consider your audience. You must think of who is going to read your report, and you use the suitable language that is understandable for him. Pay particular attention to whether all the information that you have included is relevant. Also, remember to check tenses, which person you have written in, grammar and spelling. It's also worth one last check against any requirements on structure. So you can again look at this in detail before we move on. Well, guys, this is a sample question from a previous exam. In such a question, gentlemen, you don't write the information from your mind. We are not examining you in your general knowledge in information that you already know. So the examiner will give you all the information in a table, and you're asked to use this information or these data and make them into, or include them in your report. Let's look at the example. Here it is. It says, some experts argue that there is a link between obesity and depression. You are not a specialist. You are not an expert in studying obesity, which is being very fat in like a disease, not in a normal way, and depression, the bad mood that people usually have. Okay, so they say that there is a link between them. Well, in both directions, it means that opacity can cause depression and depression can cause opacity. Write a report to your school magazine using the notes below. So you are going to write the report to your school magazine, and where are you going to get the information you need about obesity and depression? Here you have the information required. You have the information sources, that is the World Health Organization, the WHO, and here you have the facts, a list of facts. Here you have the conclusion, what you need to write in the conclusion, and here you have the recommendations, also a number of recommendations. So you will use the information already given in the exam sheet to write your report. You don't need to write something from your head. Okay, let's see how to turn that table into a report. That's the example. This is our introduction. This report was requested by the school magazine. This is the let me say the structure that you should follow. You need to start any report by that, by stating who requested it. This report was requested by the school magazine, or by Mr. Ahmed Hassan, or by somebody if you have the name already mentioned in the exam. It investigates the link between obesity and depression. That is the topic. The report is to be submitted by the 5th of January 2024. You need to end your introduction by that also. You can set a deadline and say it. It should be submitted by so and so. As you can see, the sentences are short, as we said a while ago in the previous slide. You don't need to write long sentences, complicated or complex sentences. No, in a report you focus on facts and use simple language. So that's the introduction. As you can see, it is very short, just 1.5 lines. Let's move on. Next we come to facts and findings. Gentlemen, please note that you have to write these headings. You need to write introduction, and then you write this. You need to write facts and findings, and then you make a list of the facts that you have found in the table. According to the World Health Organization, here you refer to the source of information that you have got, the source of those facts. And here are the facts that were already mentioned in the table in the previous slide, as I told you. 6 facts, we got them all. We didn't make up information, gentlemen. You just use the data that you see in the table. Next, you come to the conclusion, and it is a short one. You can see just a little bit more than 2 lines, as you can see. But this is not the end of the report. The report does not end with the conclusion. It ends with the recommendations. And as I told you, in the previous slide, you already have the conclusion and the recommendation, the facts, all the stuff is right there. You just need to make them into sentences, not as notes as they were in the table. And here we have the recommendations. Again, gentlemen, you end by writing the name. If you are given a name in the exam, you use it. Usually they use unisex names like Jihad Ahmed, Nur Ali, and so on. If you are not given any names, please use one of these names also, Jihad Ahmed or Nur Ali. Don't use your real name. Okay? Well, again, if you need to look in details about into that report, you can pause, look, and then you move on. Now we come to Unit 5, and here we have the chart report or table report. And this is not a long writing. You need to write between 150 and 200 words. 100 is really good. It is okay because you don't need to write a lot. It is just like the report. You are going to talk about facts. You're not going to give opinion. You will need to write about the exact percentages and figures and numbers that you have in the table or in the report. In the graph, Before that, you need to have an idea about the different types of graphs or charts. This is called the bar graph or bar chart. This is called the line chart. This is called the pie chart. And of course you may have a table. Okay, so expect any of these in your exam. Well, how to describe a graph or diagram, chart or table? You need to highlight the main features of the graph. You need to look at the highest point, the highest number, the lowest point or the lowest number in each of the graphs or the tables, because you'll use these highest and lowest to compare and contrast. Well, you need to paraphrase whenever possible. Do not use the same words or the same sentences in the question. Use your own language. You need to avoid sentences like these. This is very important. I or we can see that. No, you use the passive in that way. It is clear that. It can be seen that. Not I can see or you can see or we can see. Well, I think it is an interesting feature that. No, don't use the first person I or we at all. Don't use you. You usually use the passive all the time. It is clear that. It can be seen that. Instead, it can be seen that, or a striking feature of the graph is. This is the one you can use. These are the ones you should avoid. Use appropriate language. First of all, you should not use any informal or slang words. This is a formal writing, guys, again. This is a formal writing, so do not use informal or slang expressions. Keep the vocabulary formal and academic. Finally, make sure what you say is true according to the given data. Do not come to conclusions that are not there in the table or in the graph. I mean, if the highest point was, for example, for a country called Hungary, a country called Turkey, do not switch them and say that the highest for Turkey while it was for Hungary, the highest for Bahrain while it was for Qatar or for Kuwait. You get that? Use the information correctly, and the numbers should be associated with the people or the categories they belong to. Do not give your opinion, of course. And here are some expressions that are really useful if you are expressing trends in a graph. If there are numbers that are going up with years or going down with years and so on. So let's look. If we want to express an upward trend, something that is increasing along the time, we can use any of these expressions. We are going to have many, in fact. Look at them all, and you can simply pause and look at them in details. We have climb, growth, rise, expand, recover, take off. We have expansion, improvement, increase. We have step up, extension, and rocket. All these express an upward trend. What if there is no change? If it is the same, we have the words constant, level off, maintain, stability, stay at, stand at, stagnation, hold steady, level off. It is already there, level off, but as a noun and as a verb. Remain stable. But what if the trend is going down? So we can use collapse, fall, go down, push down, reduction, decrease, drop, crash, slide, plunge, decline, and downturn. So here we have all the vocabulary that are useful to express a trend, whether it is an uptrend, a downtrend, or it is no change, it is the same. Again, you can pause and note down all these useful vocabulary. Now we come to online film review, which is the easiest in fact, because in the final exam the examiner cannot ask you to write about a specific film you might not have seen. First of all, you need to write about 200 words, and let's look at the structure and content of an online film or book review. Well, you need to start by the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion. Let's look at each of them. For the introduction, you give the title and author of the book or the film. When reviewing a film, mention the director and actors. Some useful expressions could be name the book, for example, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It is a film and it is a book, so it can serve with us in both directions. Is an action film or cartoon, if we're talking about a film, or is a great novel, if it is a novel, a book. The film or the book tells the story of, and you start giving a summary of the story of that film or of that novel. It is written or directed by, you can tell here who is the writer or who is the director of the film or the book. Now we come to the main body, and here you need to summarize the plot in a few sentences, and you need to mention the setting, the time, and the place. You also need to say something about the main characters, and finally you need to say something about the content. You can use some expressions like the story or the film begins with so and so, or the story or the film is about so and so, and here you give the brief summary. The main characters are, this is common whether you are talking about a novel or about a film. You are going to tell the names of the main characters. That's in the first paragraph of the body. The second paragraph of the body, you are going to give some comments. It is rather, or it is quite long, it is confusing, it is moving, it is sad that. You are going to give your opinion, you are going to comment on the book or the story. It's a well-written book, well-acted film. These are common expressions that you can use. Finally, we come to the conclusion. Here you need to comment on the book or the film again, and you need to let others know whether you liked it or not. And here you are going to explain why you liked it or not, and finally you will give your recommendation. Do you recommend the book or not? Usually we do recommend such things, because in the exam you are asked to write about your favorite film or a film that you like, so you will definitely recommend that for other people to watch. You can use these expressions in the conclusion. In my opinion, I would not recommend it because this does not happen. As I told you, I would recommend it. I will definitely recommend it. I will strongly recommend it. I really enjoyed, or if you didn't like it, you can say hate, but we rarely do that, because it is definitely worth seeing or reading. Don't miss it. Okay, so these are very important and very good expressions that you need to look at in details. Again, if you need to read them in more detail, in depth, please pause, read them, and then move on. Here we have an example of a review. Well, that is a review taken from the Edionet, and it is about Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. As you can see, it started with the starter, as we said, the introduction. Then we have these two body paragraphs and the conclusion. Again, I'll let you pause and read it in details. Again, you can go to the Edionet and download the PowerPoint itself, where you are going to find the source for this. Remember that you need to write an attention-grabbing title for your review, and you need to write a name and a place right here. This is the structure. So again, use a common name like Nur Hassan, Jihad Ali, and the place where you come from, Muharraq, or if you come from Haid, from Galali, from whatever, you write the name of the place you come from right here. To the right, okay? To the left, you write the title. To the right, you write your name. It's not your real name, the name you are going to use, the alias, and then the place you come from. Then you start writing your review of the book or of the film. Here is another example of a film review. This is not taken from the unit like the others. This one I made myself. It is about the film called Robin Hood, which was produced in 2018. And as you can see, I gave it also a title, An Eternal Theme, because the theme of Robin Hood was used in so many films. Okay, and also you need to write the name and the place, and it goes on the same structure: an introduction, and then 2 paragraphs in the body paragraph, and finally the conclusion. Again, you can pause here, look at the film review in detail. You can even download it and read it carefully. You can study it well so that you can do it if you have that such a question in your exam. Guys, by that, I've come to the end of this revision session. Thank you very, very much for your time. I hope this was useful to you, and I wish you the best of luck. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.